There are lessons in life that we often understand only after we have spent years chasing the wrong things. Sometimes wisdom does not come at the beginning of the journey. Sometimes it comes after disappointment, after success that did not satisfy, after pleasure that did not heal, after achievements that looked impressive to others but still left the soul empty before God. This is one of the most powerful truths we learn from Solomon. He was not an ordinary man. He was a king, a builder, a ruler, a thinker, a writer, and one of the wisest men who ever lived. God gave him wisdom beyond what many could imagine. He had wealth, honor, influence, servants, gardens, houses, music, knowledge, and opportunities that most people could only dream of. Yet, near the end of his reflections, Solomon looked at everything he had pursued under the sun and came to a sobering conclusion. Much of what human beings spend their lives chasing is vanity when it is separated from God. That word vanity does not mean that life has no value. It means that life without God cannot hold the weight of our deepest hopes. It is like vapor. It appears for a moment and then disappears. It promises satisfaction but cannot keep its promise. It shines in the distance but fades when we finally hold it in our hands. And this is why Solomon's life speaks so powerfully to us today. Because many people are still chasing what Solomon already tested. They are chasing more success, more pleasure, more control, more recognition, more knowledge, more comfort, more possessions, and more approval. They believe that if they can just reach the next level, earn more, own more, become more, or be seen more, then their hearts will finally be at rest. But Solomon stands as a witness across generations and says, I had it, I tested it, I tasted it, and without God at the center, it was still not enough. In this message, we will reflect on what Solomon learned too late about life, wisdom, and God. Not because his story is meant to discourage us, but because it is meant to awaken us. God allows Solomon's reflections to remain in Scripture so that we do not have to waste our lives discovering the same truths through regret. We can learn from his wisdom, we can learn from his mistakes, we can learn from his honesty, and we can choose a better path before the years pass, before the heart becomes hardened, before the soul becomes tired from chasing what cannot truly satisfy. So listen carefully, not only with your mind, but with your heart, because this message is not only about Solomon's life, it is about your life, your priorities, your decisions, your relationship with God, and the direction of your soul. Lesson 1. Success without God cannot satisfy the soul. Solomon had what many people spend their whole lives trying to obtain. He had power, wealth, influence, reputation, and extraordinary intelligence. 1 Kings 10 describes the greatness of his kingdom, the gold that came to him, the splendor of his throne, and the attention he received from rulers around the world. From the outside, Solomon looked like the definition of success. But the book of Ecclesiastes reveals the inner side of that success. Ecclesiastes 1:14 says, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and vexation of spirit. These are not the words of a man who had nothing. These are the words of a man who had everything and discovered that everything was still not enough. This is a truth many people do not learn until late in life. Success can give you comfort, but it cannot give you meaning. Success can give you recognition, but it cannot give you peace with God. Success can open doors, but it cannot heal the emptiness of a soul that is disconnected from its Creator. There is nothing wrong with working hard, building well, leading wisely, or being fruitful in what God has entrusted to you. But when success becomes the center of life, it becomes a false god. It asks for your time, your energy, your family, your peace, your integrity, and sometimes even your spiritual devotion. It promises to make you whole, but it never can. Solomon learned that achievement under the sun, when separated from heaven, eventually becomes exhausting. A person can reach the top and still feel lost. A person can win the applause of people and still feel unseen by God. A person can build a name on earth and still neglect the condition of the soul. This is why Jesus later asked, For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? That question is the cure for shallow ambition. It reminds us that not everything called success is success in the eyes of God. True success is not merely having more. True success is becoming faithful. True success is not being known by many, but being known by God. True success is not building a life that impresses people, but building a life that pleases the Lord. Solomon learned that the soul cannot be satisfied by earthly greatness alone. The soul was made for God, and until God becomes the center, even the greatest achievements will leave something missing inside. Lesson 2. Pleasure is a poor substitute for purpose. Ecclesiastes 2:1 says, I said in mine heart, Go to now, I will prove thee with mirth, therefore enjoy pleasure. And behold, this also is vanity. Solomon did not only test wisdom and work, he tested pleasure. He gave himself access to joy, entertainment, beauty, music, luxury, and delight. He did not speak about pleasure as someone who had never experienced it. He spoke as someone who had explored its limits and found that it could not carry the soul. Pleasure is not evil when it is received with gratitude and kept under God's authority. God gives good gifts. He gives food, rest, laughter, family, beauty, and moments of joy. But pleasure becomes dangerous when it becomes the main pursuit of life. Many people today are trying to medicate their emptiness with entertainment. They scroll, buy, eat, travel, indulge, distract themselves, and constantly search for the next experience that will make them feel alive. But the heart that lacks divine purpose will always need another distraction. Pleasure can numb pain for a moment, but it cannot heal the heart. It can excite the senses, but it cannot anchor the soul. It can fill an evening, but it cannot give direction to a life. Solomon discovered that laughter without meaning eventually becomes hollow. Celebration without God eventually becomes noise. Enjoyment without purpose eventually becomes weariness. This lesson is deeply important in a generation that often confuses happiness with holiness and comfort with blessing. God does not call us to a joyless life, but He does call us to a rightly ordered life. Joy must flow from God, not replace God. Pleasure must be received as a gift, not worshipped as a master. When the soul is rooted in the Lord, simple blessings become meaningful. A meal becomes thanksgiving. A conversation becomes grace. A day of rest becomes worship. A quiet morning becomes communion. But when the soul is far from God, even abundance becomes empty. Solomon learned too late that pleasure cannot do what only purpose can do. Purpose gives direction when feelings change. Purpose gives strength when life becomes difficult. Purpose gives meaning to sacrifice. Purpose reminds us that we are not here merely to consume, but to glorify God. Do not build your life around what feels good for a moment. Build your life around what will matter before God forever. Lesson 3. Human wisdom is limited when it is not surrendered to God. Solomon was known for wisdom. People came from distant lands to hear him. His insight was extraordinary. Yet Ecclesiastes shows us that even great human wisdom has limits. Ecclesiastes 1:18 says, For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. This does not mean wisdom is bad. The Bible consistently honors wisdom. But Solomon learned that knowledge alone cannot save the soul. The more he understood life under the sun, the more he saw its frustrations, injustices, mysteries, and limitations. Knowledge can explain many things, but it cannot redeem the heart. Education can sharpen the mind, but it cannot remove sin. Intelligence can help you make plans, but it cannot guarantee peace. Human wisdom can analyze suffering, but it cannot always heal it. It can identify problems, but it cannot provide eternal hope unless it bows before God. This is a lesson many people still struggle to receive. We live in an age overflowing with information. People can learn almost anything in seconds, yet many are still anxious, confused, lonely, angry, and spiritually lost. Information has increased, but discernment has not always grown with it. People know more, but they do not always live wiser. Solomon reminds us that wisdom must begin with the fear of the Lord. Proverbs 9:10 says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the holy is understanding." True wisdom is not merely knowing facts, it is seeing life from God's perspective and living accordingly. A person can be brilliant and still foolish if they reject God. A person can be highly educated and still make destructive decisions if pride governs the heart. A person can understand the world and still misunderstand the purpose of life. Solomon had wisdom, but his life also warns us that wisdom must be guarded by obedience. Knowing the truth is not the same as surrendering to it. Understanding God's commands is not the same as keeping them. Speaking wisdom is not the same as living wisely. This is a sobering truth. It is possible to know what is right and still drift. It is possible to teach others and still compromise privately. It is possible to have insight and still lose spiritual sensitivity if the heart turns away from God. So, ask yourself honestly, is the wisdom you seek leading you closer to God, or only making you more confident in yourself? Are you using knowledge to obey the Lord, or to justify your own way? The wisest life is not the life that knows the most, but the life that humbly walks with God. Lesson 4. The heart must be guarded even after great blessings. Solomon began with a heart that desired wisdom. When God invited him to ask for what he wanted, Solomon asked for an understanding heart to govern the people rightly. This pleased the Lord, but later in life, the Bible tells us that Solomon's heart was turned away. 1 Kings 11:4 says, "For it came to pass, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned away his heart after other gods, and his heart was not perfect with the Lord his God." This is one of the most painful parts of Solomon's story. The man who wrote about wisdom still allowed his heart to drift. The man who built the temple still became divided in devotion. The man who warned others about the danger of the wrong path still took steps that led him away from wholehearted faithfulness. This teaches us something very important. Past obedience does not remove the need for present vigilance. Yesterday's wisdom will not protect today's heart if we stop walking with God. Spiritual drift rarely happens all at once. It often begins slowly, a small compromise, a tolerated desire, a relationship that weakens conviction, a habit that dulls sensitivity, a season of success that makes prayer feel less urgent, a heart that begins to enjoy the gifts of God more than the presence of God. This is why Proverbs 4:23 says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." The heart is the center of direction. If the heart turns, the life follows. Solomon's downfall did not begin with the loss of intelligence. It began with the turning of his heart. That is a warning to every believer. You can have knowledge and still need humility. You can have gifts and still need discipline. You can have experience and still need prayer. You can have blessings and still need obedience. Never assume that spiritual maturity means you are beyond temptation. Never assume that because God used you before, you no longer need to guard your heart now. The enemy does not always attack by taking things away. Sometimes he attacks by giving distractions that slowly compete with God. Blessings become dangerous when they are enjoyed without watchfulness. Success becomes dangerous when it makes us prayerless. Relationships become dangerous when they pull our devotion away from the Lord. Solomon learned that a heart not guarded can drift even in a palace. The safest heart is not the heart with the most knowledge, but the heart that remains surrendered. Lesson 5. Time is short, and every season has a purpose. Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." Solomon reflected deeply on time. He understood that life moves through seasons we cannot fully control. There is a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to keep and a time to let go. This lesson becomes clearer as life passes. When we are young, we often live as if time is unlimited. We delay obedience. We postpone reconciliation. We assume there will always be another opportunity, another conversation, another year, another chance to become serious about God. But Solomon teaches us that life is made of seasons, and seasons do not last forever. There are doors that open only for a time. There are people we can love only while they are with us. There are opportunities to obey that may not return in the same way. There are moments when God is calling, correcting, and inviting us, and it is dangerous to ignore His voice. Wisdom, it knows when to speak and when to remain silent, when to act and when to wait, when to hold on and when to release, when to mourn and when to rejoice. Many regrets in life come from failing to discern the season. We stay too long where God told us to leave. We rush ahead when God told us to wait. We remain silent when love required a word. We speak harshly when wisdom required restraint. We chase temporary things while eternal things are calling for our attention. Solomon's reflection on time is not meant to make us afraid. It is meant to make us awake. If there is someone you need to forgive, do not wait until the heart becomes harder. If there is obedience God has been asking from you, do not delay until the cost becomes greater. If there is a calling you have neglected, do not assume you will always have the same strength, clarity, or opportunity. If there is a relationship that needs healing, do not let pride steal years that love could restore. Time is a gift, but it is also a responsibility. You cannot control every season, but you can choose faithfulness within the season you are in. And when you do not understand the timing of God, trust that He makes everything beautiful in His time. Lesson 6. Wealth is useful, but it cannot protect you from emptiness. Solomon had wealth beyond imagination, yet he repeatedly warned that riches cannot satisfy the deepest needs of the soul. Ecclesiastes 5:10 says, "He that loveth silver shall not be satisfied with silver, nor he that loveth abundance with increase. This is also vanity." This verse reveals a truth many people learn only after obtaining what they thought would satisfy them. The love of money creates hunger, not contentment. The more a person worships increase, the more increase they need. Wealth can solve certain problems, but it can also create new anxieties. It can provide options, but it cannot provide peace. It can build comfort, but it cannot build character. It can attract people, but it cannot guarantee love. It can buy medicine, but it cannot give eternal life. The problem is not money itself. The problem is loving money as if it were God. The problem is looking to wealth for security, identity, and meaning. Solomon saw that abundance without contentment becomes another form of poverty. A poor person may believe they would be content if they had more, but a rich person without God often proves that more is not enough. Contentment is not produced by the amount in the hand. It is produced by the posture of the heart before God. This lesson is very practical. Work with diligence, but do not worship income. Save wisely, but do not trust savings more than the Lord. Be responsible with resources, but do not let possessions possess you. Give generously, because generosity breaks the power of greed. Thank God for provision, but remember that provision is not the provider. Solomon learned that wealth can be a blessing when submitted to God, but a burden when it becomes the master. A life guided by God knows how to use money without being ruled by it. It knows how to enjoy blessings without clinging to them. It knows how to give because the heart trusts the Father. The richest person is not the one who has the most, but the one whose soul is satisfied in God. Lesson 7. Injustice is real, but God will judge everything. One of the reasons Ecclesiastes feels so honest is because Solomon does not pretend that life is always fair under the sun. He saw injustice. He saw wicked people prosper. He saw righteous people suffer. He saw oppression, corruption, and confusion. Ecclesiastes 3:17 says, "God shall judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work." This is a deeply important lesson because many people lose heart when they see injustice. They ask why the wicked seem to succeed, why dishonest people appear to advance, why faithful people sometimes suffer quietly while proud people celebrate openly. Solomon does not deny the pain of this reality, but he points us toward the final truth. God will judge. This means no evil is truly hidden, no injustice is ultimately forgotten, no righteous sacrifice is invisible to the Lord, no secret corruption escapes His eyes. Human courts may fail, people may misunderstand, the wicked may appear victorious for a season, but God's judgment is perfect and His timing is certain. This truth gives comfort, but it also gives warning. It comforts the righteous because God sees their tears, their obedience, their endurance, and their faithfulness. It warns the wicked because temporary success is not the same as divine approval. We must be careful not to measure life only by what appears to be happening now. Under the sun, things may look confusing, but above the sun, God reigns. The story is not finished. The final word has not yet been spoken. The judge of all the earth will do right. This lesson helps us release bitterness. We do not have to become consumed by revenge. We do not have to carry the burden of making everything right by our own hands. We are called to act justly, love mercy, walk humbly, and trust God with what we cannot fix. This does not mean we ignore injustice. It means we confront evil without becoming evil. It means we seek righteousness without allowing hatred to rule us. It means we remain faithful even when the world seems unfair. Solomon learned that life under the sun can be unjust, but life is not only under the sun, there is a God above it all. And because God will judge everything, your faithfulness is never wasted. Stay with me, because the next lesson may speak directly to anyone who has ever wondered why life still feels empty, even after receiving what they prayed for. Lesson 8. God alone gives the power to enjoy life. Ecclesiastes 2:24 says, "There is nothing better for a man than that he should eat and drink, and that he should make his soul enjoy good in his labor." This also I saw, that it was from the hand of God. Solomon discovered something surprising. Enjoyment itself is a gift from God. Many people think joy automatically comes when they get what they want. But Solomon saw that a person can have possessions and still not enjoy them. A person can have food and still eat with anxiety. A person can have a home and still live without peace. A person can have family and still not cherish them. A person can have success and still be restless. The ability to enjoy life with gratitude is not produced by circumstances alone. It comes from God. When the heart is right with Him, ordinary things become gifts. Bread becomes a blessing. Work becomes meaningful. Rest becomes sacred. Family becomes treasure. A simple day becomes evidence of mercy. But when the heart is disconnected from God, even extraordinary things become dull. This lesson is powerful because it frees us from the endless chase. The goal of life is not to possess everything, but to receive what God gives with a grateful heart. Some people are always waiting for life to begin. They say, "When I have more money, then I will be thankful. When I get married, then I will be content. When I buy the house, then I will rest. When I reach the next level, then I will enjoy life." But Solomon teaches that if gratitude is absent now, abundance will not automatically create it later. A restless heart will carry restlessness into every new blessing. God wants to teach us holy contentment, not laziness, not lack of ambition, but the ability to recognize His goodness in the present season, the ability to say, "Lord, this day is not perfect, but it is still a gift. This meal is simple, but it comes from your hand. This work is tiring, but it has purpose. This season is difficult, but you are still with me." Solomon learned that joy is not found by squeezing meaning out of possessions. Joy is received when life is lived before God. Ask the Lord to restore your ability to see His hand in simple things, because a grateful heart can find treasure where an ungrateful heart sees nothing. Lesson 9. Death puts every earthly pursuit in perspective. Solomon spoke often about death, not to create despair, but to awaken wisdom. Ecclesiastes 12:7 says, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it." This is one of the truths people try hardest to avoid, yet it is one of the truths that makes us wise. Life on earth is temporary. Our bodies return to dust. Our possessions remain behind. Our titles are eventually given to someone else. Our achievements become memories. Our schedules stop, our earthly influence fades, but the spirit returns to God. This means we must live with eternity in view. Death teaches us that many things we worry about are smaller than they appear. It teaches us that pride is foolish. It teaches us that resentment wastes precious time. It teaches us that the soul matters more than image. It teaches us that obedience matters more than applause. It teaches us that no earthly possession is worth losing fellowship with God. The reality of death does not make life meaningless. It makes life urgent and sacred. Because our days are numbered, we should live them wisely. Because we will stand before God, we should live with reverence. Because people are eternal souls, we should love deeply, forgive sincerely, and speak truth with grace. Many people live as if they will never die, then face death wishing they had truly lived. Solomon's reflections call us to wake up before that moment. Do not wait until the end of life to ask what mattered. Ask now. Do not wait until strength fades to seek God seriously. Seek Him now. Do not wait until people are gone to express love. Love now. Do not wait until consequences arrive to choose wisdom. Choose wisdom now. The person who remembers eternity will live differently today. They will not be controlled by every insult, every delay, every temporary disappointment, or every worldly competition. They will ask, "What will matter when I stand before God?" This question brings clarity. It cuts through vanity. It heals misplaced priorities. Solomon learned that the spirit returns to God. Therefore, life must be lived not merely for earth, but for eternity. Lesson 10. The final answer is to fear God and obey Him. After all his searching, testing, observing, building, enjoying, grieving, and reflecting, Solomon comes to the conclusion of the whole matter. Ecclesiastes 12:13 says, "Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is the whole duty of man." This is the lesson that holds everything together. The meaning of life is not found in pleasure, though pleasure has its place. It is not found in work, though work has purpose. It is not found in wealth, though resources can be useful. It is not found in human wisdom alone, though wisdom is precious. It is not found in reputation, power, beauty, or achievement. The meaning of life is found in reverence before God and obedience to His will. To fear God does not mean to run from Him in terror. It means to honor Him as holy, to recognize His authority, to trust His wisdom, to take His word seriously, to live with awareness that He sees, He knows, He judges, and He also loves. The fear of the Lord brings life into order. It places God at the center, where He belongs. It teaches us that we are not our own creators, our own saviors, or our own final authority. We belong to the One who made us. Keeping His commandments is the natural fruit of fearing Him. Obedience is not merely rule-keeping. It is love expressed through surrender. It is trust made visible. It is the daily decision to say, "Lord, your way is wiser than mine. Your word is truer than my feelings. Your timing is better than my impatience. Your holiness is more important than my comfort." Solomon's conclusion is simple, but it is not shallow. It is the deepest truth of life. Fear God and keep His commandments. This is the path that gives meaning to work, purity to pleasure, wisdom to decisions, peace to the conscience, strength in suffering, and hope beyond death. Everything else must find its proper place beneath this truth. If God is not first, even good things become disordered. But when God is first, life begins to align. So what did Solomon learn too late? He learned that everything under the sun becomes vanity when it is disconnected from the God above the sun. He learned that pleasure cannot replace purpose. He learned that success cannot satisfy the soul. He learned that wealth cannot give contentment. He learned that human wisdom has limits. He learned that time is short. He learned that the heart must be guarded. He learned that judgment is certain. He learned that simple joy is a gift from God. And he learned that the whole duty of man is to fear God and obey Him. But by God's mercy, these lessons do not have to be learned too late by us. We can listen now. We can turn now. We can reorder our priorities now. We can stop chasing empty things now. We can place God back at the center now. This is the invitation of Solomon's life. Do not wait until you have everything to discover that everything is not enough without God. Do not wait until years have passed to realize that obedience would have protected you. Do not wait until your soul is exhausted to seek the one who gives rest. Do not wait until the end of the road to ask whether you are walking in the right direction. The Lord is calling you today into wisdom, into reverence, into clarity, into a life that is not wasted on vanity, but rooted in eternal truth. If this message spoke to your heart, write in the comments which lesson from Solomon touched you the most. Was it the warning about success, the truth about pleasure, the need to guard your heart, or the final call to fear God and keep His commandments? Like this video, if it helped you reflect on your life, share it with someone who needs biblical wisdom today, and subscribe to Biblical Wisdom Daily for more scripture-based guidance, encouragement, and wisdom for everyday life. May the Lord teach us not only to understand wisdom, but to live it. May He guard our hearts from vanity, open our eyes to what truly matters, and lead us into a life centered on Him. Remember this: a life without God may look full for a season, but a life with God is the only life that remains meaningful forever. May God bless you, guide you, and give you wisdom to live for what truly lasts.